وحبنا لك يا بحرين الوفا كل لحظة يزداد حلم واحد يقربنا لبعضنا ما يباعدنا نشوف أرضك مثل جنة تلحف هالسما بمجاد على أرضك تعايشنا وتعاوننا وتوحدنا وحبنا لك يا بحرين الوفا كل لحظة يزداد حلم واحد يقربنا لبعضنا ما يبعدنا نشوف أرضك مثل جنة تلحف السماء بمجاد تعايشنا وتعاوننا وتوحدنا.
يتجدد لقائنا الأسبوعي مع برنامج نيوكاسل مع وليد. Good evening everyone. Welcome to LW Newcastle. Newcastle with الوليد. الليلة لدينا حلقة مميزة مع ضيف مميز. Today we have a special guest, a special show. We're glad to have Stuart Penman is a sales manager for a luxury real estate development in the Kingdom of Bahrain. For those who don't know Kingdom of Bahrain, Bahrain is a GCC country besides Saudi Arabia. He's running international business in Saudi Arabia and other GCC countries, also for the Far East investments. Stuart been in the Gulf area for 6 years and firstly was in Dubai, and last year he came to Bahrain, the Kingdom of Bahrain. And the more important, he's one of the ambassadors of Geordie's in the Gulf area. Welcome, Stuart.
Thank you. That was a very impressive introduction. Thank you very much. And مساء الخير to everybody.
يا مساء الخير. أهلين يا وليد. مساء الخير.
مساء النور. أهلا Stuart.
First Stuart, I would like to ask you, before we involved in Newcastle's and Takeover, how do you find the life in Gulf area, in the GCC countries?
It's much more preferable. I find the people friendly. It's safer. There's a better environment.
We are glad to hear that.
Yeah, I really do enjoy living here. The humidity is the problem. The heat, no, it's okay. The humidity is always the problem.
Everyone is saying that. GCC country is the best place to come, but not in summer.
Yeah, but they've got AC, so I love that. I love that part of it.
Do you visit some sightseeing in Dubai or any other country in the GCC or any other GCC country?
With the job, I've done a lot of traveling. I've been to most of the GCC countries. I've been to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia a couple of times. As you mentioned, I lived in Dubai for 5 years. I've now been in Bahrain for 1 year. Next week, actually. Next week is my 1 year anniversary here in Bahrain. I've been to Oman. I've been to Qatar. I didn't see Richard Keys there, thankfully. I've been to Egypt. Most of the GCC countries, obviously all the UAE, Emirates as well. You know, but like I say, with work, I do a lot of traveling, and it's great experience meeting different cultures and and seeing how people interact as well. You know, and the respect given from different nations to different nations.
So, which one you prefer?
I prefer. Honestly, I love living in Bahrain. The people here are really friendly. The lifestyle is more relaxed. You know, there's not any trouble. When I say trouble, I mean people. If you need something, they're willing to help. You know, I relate. If we use it as an analogy to the UK, whilst I was living in Dubai, that's a bit like London. It's very multicultural. There's lots of different nationalities living there, but it can be a bit impersonal. Where Bahrain is more like Newcastle, where people are friendly. And
so
you have,
prefer the Newcastle of the Gulf area than the London of the Gulf
London,
area.
London, yes, for sure. Sure. For definite. It's nice to visit, you know. It's like London, it's okay to visit, but living there, definitely not. Newcastle's far better place to live than London.
Well, like, are there particular places you prefer in the Gulf area?
Well, I will be visiting the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, hopefully, as soon as they can get this causeway opened and I can get their work permits.
Yeah, the lockdown.
So they've just eased the. Sorry, my phone's been dropped. They've just eased the restrictions here in Bahrain, where if you were coming into Bahrain via the airport, you would be quarantined or self-isolated for 10 days. Only yesterday they've released reduced that. So you can still come in, you get a COVID-19 test, but you don't have to do any self-isolation, but you do have to have a test. That's providing you're negative. But then you do have to have a test 10 days later. So that's allowing me to travel and be able to go and hopefully do some work within the GCC.
As a Britain citizen, what is your favorite dish in Gulf area?
Oh, well, if anyone who knows me, I'm very, very picky with my food.
Oh,
I don't have a massive expanse of taste. And unfortunately for the Gulf area, pizzas are my favorite by a long stretch.
It's Italian.
No, I love the pizzas. I love the pizzas.
At least, have you tried Capsa at least?
Yeah, I've tried different food. I have tried different food, but I don't eat like rich foods or that many spicy foods or vegetables. You know, the best way to describe how my eating habits are, if, for example, Alwaleed's son Kareem, when he has his next birthday party, that's the sort of food that I would eat. You know, you'd have the burgers and the fries and things like that. I just don't think I grew up that much. But the pizzas are the winners. But I do like seafood. I do love the seafood.
So seafood, you live in the Gulf area, you know, the sea. The like in the east of Saudi Arabia, in Bahrain, in Dubai, everyone eats seafood over there. East Coast,
well,
it's a good place for seafoods.
There was Humur was the one in Dubai that was very popular. You know, so you have to eat the humur, but I love the shrimps, squid as well. The better half makes lovely calamari, and I have to say that, but she does really make nice calamari. So it's like with food, I'm very limited, I've got to say.
Unfortunately. Thank you.
Nice.
Stuart, I would like to ask you, did you catch some Gulf games in the region of a Gulf? Sports,
yes.
Some matches
when I went to a game in Abu Dhabi when they had the Gulf Cup there, and unfortunately Qatar beats the UAE, so that wasn't a good experience. But when I first arrived in Bahrain, I think it was last October, there was a game between Bahrain and Iran. Now Iran were the hot favourites to win that game. And so I went there with a work colleague and his father, and we watched Bahrain beat Iran. It was a great experience.
Bahrain beat Iran.
And I was on television there as well. I think they just found the only white man in the crowd and zoomed in on me, you know. So I went to work the next day and a few people said, we've seen you on the television. But I really enjoyed that game, the experience of it. But unfortunately with work, I don't get a chance to go to many local games, but I always make sure I'm available to watch Newcastle play.
Yeah, let's move to Newcastle then. How you can describe Newcastle performance this season, last season?
Oh, season just gone. I think before the season started, I was firmly expecting Newcastle to get relegated, and I'm normally a positive person. I think that with the departure of Rafa Benitez and the way it was done, and the fact that they brought Steve Bruce in, it was probably 10th or 11th choice. It was rather underwhelming, and he's not really renowned for his tactical nous. So I was very fearful of how the season was going to pan out. And through luck or great fortune, we managed to stay up comfortably. But that could have been because there was 3 or 4 teams that were a lot worse than Newcastle were last season. That is. But the football wasn't great to watch. But you can't help it. You know, it's in the blood. You have to watch it. You know, you might finish a game and say, I was thinking this, but you'll watch it again.
Do you think there was like a positive effect or negative effect regarding the takeover on the team?
For the players, the ones who were good, it would have been a positive effect, and that's what we want. You know, if you're positive things happen. You know, say if you're in work and there's always one person who's complaining and moaning, and it's very easy to be negative. But if you're a good player, if you're Alan Saint-Maximin or Dubravka or even Miggy Almiron, you'll be wanting this takeover. You know, they will take them to the next level. The journeyman players, the ones who aren't that good, the ones who feel like their position would be under threat, of course they're going to think, oh, this isn't going to be good for me personally, but that's a natural reaction. But for the fans, the takeover really should happen, and there's no reason why it shouldn't happen apart from
we are coming for the takeover later on.
Yeah, I'm sure. But to answer your question, the players themselves would as I mentioned, the ones who are good, it'd be positive for them.
And I think after the start after Corona, I think they did, especially at the beginning, they did good matches with Sheffield.
Sheffield United, the first half it was okay. You know, the Sheffield United, these are the teams that traditionally Newcastle should beat but would struggle against at home. And the sending off changed it all and give the players a lift. They played a bit more expansive. And the next game, if I remember rightly, was Bournemouth, and that was by far the best performance Newcastle had all season. And then from there, the mindset was the job's done, we're safe, and that reflected in the performance. You know, that even by dropping that extra 1 or 2%, it makes a massive difference in the outcome. You know, and it was just, I don't like to use the coin phrase, you know, the heads were on the holidays, or, you know, they're on the beaches, etc., because most of them couldn't travel. But naturally, the performance level dropped, and that reflected in the results. And if you're at work and you decide that you can't be bothered for a while, for a couple of weeks, then see how long you keep your job, you know. So that's a frustrating part of supporting Newcastle United. Sorry, it's apple juice, by the way.
Sure, you can.
No, it is. It's apple juice.
Yeah, we believe you.
Yeah, make sure it's halal.
It is. Yeah.
Stewart, beside Alan Shearer, they always say Alan Shearer. So beside Alan Shearer, who's the second player of you for Newcastle?
Second player, Peter Beardsley. He's a magician.
Who's that?
Loved Peter Beardsley. I love watching him play. Paul Gascoigne. Going back all these times, I love watching them play. But the one player that caught the imagination of all supporters, if we're talking about not local guys, I would say Nobby Solano. He fell in love with the area. He was fully committed, and still lives in Newcastle as well. Still has a home there. So Nobby Solano, I loved watching him play.
When was your last game you visit St. James Park?
Well, last season we couldn't go. It was the season before, unfortunately. I lived in the Canary Islands for a long period of time, and I would fly back from there, which was about 4 or 5 hour flight, and I would take in 6 or 7 games a season. But living in the Middle East, it's a bit more difficult, especially now in Bahrain. I've got to get a connecting flight and wait. But the last game I went to at St. James's Park was with Mitch, the Geordie dentist, and that was in October 2018. We flew back for the weekend, met up with some friends. I actually met up with Steve Hasty that weekend, and Steve Wraith, and there was a talk in with the next player, Kevin Nolan, on the night before the game, so we met and had a watched the talking, and then we met again for the match the next day. Unfortunately, Newcastle got beat. That's similar to what I was saying about Sheffield United. These are the teams Newcastle should be beating, and they don't.
That was
So
in
that was
which
it.
year?
2018, not last season, the season before.
Ah, okay.
It was October.
Yeah,
Actually, October the 20th.
Yeah, around 2 years.
Yeah, it was October the 20th, 2018. I know that because it was my daughter's 21st birthday.
Okay, now regarding the takeover, from your perspective, what's your opinion on the latest in the takeover?
I still think it'll happen. I really, really do. If people look at my tweets on Twitter, everything I put is positive. Don't think I've put one negative tweet against the takeover. I'm really pro it. A big advocate of what Saudi Arabia or the Public Investment Fund can actually do for Newcastle. Not just what we can do, what they can do, but what Newcastle can do for Saudi Arabia as well. You know, it's a bit of a, to me, you've got a manager that's on paper, you've got to look and think, is that right? But it would probably be the most successful marriage in football in history. I really do. The Newcastle are very loyal, very staunch followers, and very grateful as well. You know, and I think you've seen it yourself already, the huge support there is. There was a poll, I believe it was 97% of Newcastle United fans wanted this to happen. I think the other 3% who voted
Yeah,
were from
we saw the
Sunderland.
petition. We saw the petition. I think it's over.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
110,000,
yeah.
I think. 150,000.
Yeah, over 100K.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
110K actually. Yeah.
What do you think of the petition of Shay Onora, Parliament member? This is going on.
I think it's something that it gives us another opportunity to allow our voices to be heard. What she does is a member, she represents a constitution, which not many people do. You know, they get the job and that's it. But she buys into what Newcastle is, and it's great to have this taken forward, because I don't want to make this a political speech or anything, but what you have with the members of Parliament, that pushing the Premier League, it will get answers, because we're not getting answers. We're getting sound bites. We're getting palmed off. We're getting told, you know, it was a private, you know, we can't discuss this. There's nothing to discuss. There's corruption there. There's been bribery there, and it's blatant. A blind man can see what's been going on. You know, there's a timeline that shows you that everything was in place. Even a certain presenter, I don't want to give too much airtime to, admitted defeat. All the negative journalists or the anti-takeover journalists accepted it. It was that the takeover was going to happen. You know, and through this lockdown, there's been issues of mental health, not just Newcastle supporters, people worldwide, restricting, you know, freedom, I suppose. And this takeover has meant so much to so many people. And for someone to just dismiss it. Now, what I'm hearing and what really annoys me is when people say it's a failed takeover bid. It's not a failed takeover bid. It wasn't rejected. You know, if it was rejected, then it was failed. And then we have an opportunity, or PIF, or Mike Ashley, or PCP, or the Reuben brothers, or all collectively have an opportunity to take them to court, and they would win in court without a shadow of a doubt. So there's been a stalling tactic for sure. The one thing that keeps me positive is knowing, living in the regions I have for 6 years, is knowing the determination of the people, especially the Saudi people. They are seen as leaders within the GCC, and they don't like to be pushed around. They'll stand up for what they believe in, but they'll do it professionally. They'll do it ethically. They'll do it the right way. And Saudi are very forward thinking. You know, I'm sure you're both aware of this, but with the 2030 vision, there's so much changed over the last few years. They're not going to, to me, this is my own belief, they're not going to just sit back and allow a rogue nation, the nation that's allegedly funding terrorism, just to say we've won. And the fact that there's silence from that side gives me more strength that this takeover will happen. And I think hopefully it'll give PIF more determination to ensure it happens, because the silence is the one thing that, to me, that's what's going to make it happen. There's work going on behind the scenes. I think everyone involved in it on both sides of the table believe that something's going to happen. I believe that the Premier League have backed themselves into a corner. Richard Masters come in and wanted to be the saviour of the universe and fix everything all at once. He didn't realise that he'd bit off far more than he could chew. And then Mr. Hoffman's come in with his friendship and his links to, well, no links, he worked for Barclays, who were bailed out by Qatar in the past. And to me, it seems like it's an old boys network, and he's pulled a few strings and done a few favours, and he's left Masters out to hang, really. So once they've got themselves back at this corner, they were never going to reject it, because they would have been laughed out of court. And the might of the PIF, the fact that they would have been offended by being rejected, especially as they're doing so much investment worldwide, they would have to have sued them. They would have to have taken the court for their own face, for their own reputation. They would have to. They can invest millions and billions even in other companies in other countries. UK being one of them. Billions of pounds the Saudi government gave to the UK. Why wouldn't they be allowed to mention this? So they've looked for reasons to delay it, not to reject it. They've looked for reasons to delay it in the hope that it would just go away. It's like the naughty schoolboy. If I close my eyes, no one can see me. And I don't think I do think they've overestimated.
And after that?
After that, they were hoping that that little Newcastle in the north of England would just know their place and shut up and go away. But as I just mentioned, they've severely underestimated the will and strength of the Geordie nation. And they're having a fight on their hands now, because this isn't going to go away. And to me, it's whether the takeover happens or not, and I genuinely believe it will, it's about the corruption, the collusion that's been going on. This needs exposing. And it's every football fan in this country who has aspirations of doing better should be following this and should be supporting this, because if we can't get this takeover done, what it tells you is the cartel of the top six are frightened. Of course, a powerful Newcastle, a resurgent Newcastle. We had a taste of that 20 odd years ago when Kevin Keegan came in, and it shook the league. But everybody loved watching Newcastle. We were everybody's favourite second team. And they're scared of that, because it's become too commercial now. There's this football strip's been sold worldwide. I've been fortunate enough through work and through vacations to travel to many parts of the world. Most recently, earlier this year, I was in China in 4 different cities, and just seeing the Premier League shirts there, and I was like, people should be wearing the Newcastle one. They will be wearing the Newcastle one. And I love seeing it, because years ago it used to be like that. The children wanted, can I have a Newcastle shirt? Can I have an Andy Cole shirt? Can I have an Alan Shearer shirt? Get me given on my back. I want to be the goalkeeper. And now they're an afterthought, and it scares the top six, because make no mistake, Newcastle United are coming, and we won't stop. And with the backing of the PIF and the Saudi nation, they've just gained 30 million new fans. And we're not going away. So they can keep trying to tell us that they haven't, and avoid answering the questions. That's the most frustrating part. And just giving the same, batting off the same tripe. Sorry, I nearly swore there. But batting off the same tripe that comes, it's insulting people's intelligence. And this will be exposed. People are starting to delete tweets and pretend they don't know each other, and it stinks. And all through this, the PIF have remained dignified and silent, and that gives strength, because they normally, if someone's done wrong, they do more talking. And all through this, the talking was from the people who were opposing the takeover, not the people who were supporting it.
So Stuart, as a Newcastle fan, regarding the takeover, do you think your opinion represents most of the Geordies?
Well, it'd be a very scary admission to say I speak on behalf of the Geordie nation, but everyone I've spoken to wants this takeover to happen. Everybody wants it to happen.
Yeah,
I think that the polls will
go ahead.
just even like if you look at Twitter or Facebook, which I don't use, everything is positive about it. And why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't people want to be successful? The whole idea is when you're younger and you're playing football, you dream of scoring the winning goal or winning the trophy. It's a dream. This should be a reality. But what's happening at the moment in the Premier League, or that's subservient to certain clubs that they don't want a team like Newcastle coming and spoiling the party. And
it's a
with the
great and unique chance.
Yeah, but it's not just a chance for the football club. Newcastle don't have many ups; they have plenty of downs. But it's the opinion of people on the outside, just as what we talked about earlier. People who don't live in the Middle East, who haven't been in the Middle East. They have a huge misconception about how people live their lives here. And it's the same with what people think about Newcastle. They don't realise it's such a vibrant, beautiful city. It's an amazing place.
Yeah, that's my second question, or the next question. Away from Newcastle, do you recommend the audience to visit or even live in GCC countries?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, you have to visit it. Traveling broadens the horizons, but by visiting, even when I was living in Dubai, and I think we could all be in agreement that Dubai is probably the most westernized place in the GCC at the moment. Others are following suit. But even when I was going back to Newcastle and I was living in Dubai, people think that you can't drink alcohol, you're not allowed to hold hands, you get your hands chopped off if you touch something you shouldn't touch. You get beat. It's not that people are so welcoming and friendly. They have rules in their country and people abide by them, and it makes for a peaceful society. And now, if other countries followed suit, the world would be a much better place, to be fair.
And in UAE, there are another ambassador there, Mitch, right? Your friend.
Yeah, he's a good friend, Mitch. He is a good friend. And he owes me a couple of drinks as well, so I'll be getting them off him next week. And for those who don't know, I've got a tooth that's come out. To his credit, he put a temporary filling in. He said it would last about 3 to 6 months maximum, and it's lasted nearly 12 months. So if you're watching, Mitch,
as I heard, Mitch offer free session for Geordies. For Geordies,
yes, that's right. That's very true.
What about people who support? What about the people who support Turkeys?
Mitch is off the top shelf, one of the best people you could ever meet. He really is a genuinely nice man. He really is.
Okay. Now we'll move to the news. What about the independent, Waleed?
No, now we'll go to the picture time.
Oh, now to the picture. Sorry.
Picture time.
To the game. Yeah, we have a game for Stuart.
We have a game.
You will explain, Osama?
You go ahead.
All right. We will show you a couple of photos. Not couple, more than a couple of photos. And you just, if you have comment, please say so, comment. Simple.
All right. So it's just testing Newcastle now. Yep.
It's a mixed thing. Okay. And if you have something to tell, yeah. Okay, let's start easy one.
Now that is a man called Alan Shearer. And if you don't know who that is, then you can't even say you support Newcastle United.
No, but I mean, yeah.
I have, or sorry, I don't have now, I had Alan Shearer's last European game for Newcastle. I was fortunate enough to I've got a friend who used to work at the club. And whenever I flew back from the Canary Islands he would get me tickets to go in the players' lounge. So I got to know a few of the players and people there. And I was standing in a group with my friends, waiting for, well, we're just standing waiting for somebody. And Alan come to join the group, and he had the man the match bottle of champagne, and he's, you know, and he says, "Does anyone want this?" And that, my best friend that was with me, he was just in awe of Alan Shearer, and now he can't stop talking. He was gobsmacked, mouth open, you know, quiet. And I says, "Well, I'll have it if you don't mind." You know, you didn't know that was going to be his last game, you know, for in Europe and Sporting Lisbon. I'm sure we played Sporting Lisbon that day. And it was on April the 8th because it was my birthday. We flew back especially for it. So I ended up getting this bottle of champagne. I took it back to Tenerife, and there was a Newcastle sports bar there. And I got on really well with the owner. And I gave it to him, and he put it in a casing in the bar. And then I believe I left Tenerife for about a year. And when I went back, the bar was closed. I don't know where the bottle of champagne is now. He wouldn't drink it, you know, but it was Alan Shearer's man the match. He also, I better mention my brother because I know he's watching, is Alan Shearer used to play for a team when he was younger, in his teens. And he used to play for his school against the school I went to, Kenton School. And my older brother was the centre half that used to mark Alan Shearer. And my older brother's claim to fame was Alan Shearer never scored when he marked him in 5 games. This is hugely debatable, and there's been debates for years and years and years. So one of the times I was in the players' lounge, I took my older brother there, and then when Alan come through, he's seen him, he recognised him, and they actually joked about it. You know, so I was a bit. My older brother had usurped me once more. He was telling the truth. We all thought he was lying, but he was telling the truth. So that's, yeah. The man, Mr. Alan Shearer, he's revered on Tyneside. Not just probably for what he did for England as well, but for Newcastle, he's revered. It would be like, I would imagine, you meeting Mohammed bin Salman for someone to meet Alan Shearer. You know, that's the how much love and respect people have for him who wear these stripes. Sorry if it's a bad, didn't mean to offend him. It's an example, but it's that sort of reverend.
No,
such a hero.
All right. Very cool.
Next picture.
Next.
Oh, God. That's Steve McLaren. Move on.
Cool.
The less said about him. Joe King here. Is this a competition for the worst 2 managers we've ever had?
No, it's mixed, randomly.
Okay. All right, no problem. But that was Joe King here, who had Chelsea a very colourful time in his short time at Newcastle managing them. Oh, dear me. He's lost weight now. We know that he works with Penfield, so that's got to be Baron Greenback.
Still,
Mike
will you forgive him if he helped the takeover to succeed?
Forgive? No. Forget? No. Will I be grateful that he helps the takeover succeed? Definitely. He wants out. He's desperate to want out.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so no, I won't forgive or forget. Kevin Keegan, the man who changed Newcastle. I went to start supporting Newcastle when he first signed as a player. I was 8 years old. I went to a game, we played Manchester City and won 5-0. And I think if you speak to people in Newcastle, his testimonial was against Liverpool. We drew 2-2, and at the end, a helicopter came and took Kevin Keegan away. If you speak to people in Newcastle, I think the crowd that day was about 33,000, if memory serves me right. But about 250,000 claimed to have been there. You know, he changed the region, that man. You know, we used it before about being positive. His father was from Newcastle. He understood what it meant. And we're talking about never forgetting or forgiving. Well, I'll never forget what Kevin Keegan did for Newcastle and for the region. When he created a winning team, it was a wonderful place to live. And I'm sure productivity increased as well. You know, it was fabulous years. Unfortunately, we haven't seen him since when he was managing, but when he was playing, as he was on that strip. And I love those strips, by the way, with the blue star on. I think they're my favourite strips.
I like them too.
Yeah. Ruud Gullit, the man who told Alan Shearer he was no good.
Oh,
And there's a
family.
three-letter word. Yeah. Three-letter word for that man. It's all about ego. He was the World's Player of the Year. He was the European Player of the Year. And he didn't like the adulation that Alan Shearer was receiving. And he made the massive mistake of dropping him and Duncan Ferguson for a derby against Sunderland. Oh, huge rivals. And that was his last game, thankfully, in charge of Newcastle United. And the next game, well, not the next game, but the next person who replaced him was Bobby Robson, and Alan Shearer scored 5 goals in his first game for him against Sheffield Wednesday. It's different. You keep telling someone they're bad, they start believing it, but thankfully Mr. Shearer has a very, very strong winning mentality and never doubt his own ability. And when Sir Bobby come in, he told him he was the best forward in the country, if not Europe, if not the world. And he's he has a huge role to play in this team. And you could see the weight was off his shoulders and the goals started flowing again. There's the man himself, Sir Bobby Robson. I think that picture was taken when he was at Barcelona because he looks a lot younger. Yeah, that's Sir Bobby Robson. Another legend of North East. There's a statue there at the ground of him. You know, and I think everyone who's worked with Bobby Robson or Sir Bobby has nothing but praise for him. You know, the time he took with players, couldn't remember most of their names to be fair, but the time he took with them, he improved them. Even people like Jose Mourinho, you know, you can't speak highly enough of him. You know, how he brought him in. I think if the story is right, he was Sir Bobby Robson's interpreter. And
yeah, I think
started learning his coaching skills. Yeah, started learning his coaching skills.
Barcelona, I think, yeah.
And then he's went and won a few trophies since. That's Rafa Benitez. the man who actually did get what we have. He bought it in Newcastle. He understood the passion of the fans. He was only there temporarily to try and keep us up after the mess that was left. And
yeah, I can see the all Newcastle admire him very much.
Yeah, for sure. He wants to succeed, and what's wrong with wanting to succeed? You know, it seems to be a thing that's not allowed if you support Newcastle. This man's a winner. His track record proved he's a winner, and he come to Newcastle and, albeit didn't play attractive football at the best of times, but you had to get results. You know, you can only cook with the ingredients you're given. You know, and it's like if you're playing cards, you can only play with the hand you dealt with. But what he did is give the fans belief that we could be better. He understood our energy, our passion, our desire to succeed, and wanted the same. You know, he spoke like a fan.
Yeah, if you allow me to ask,
sure.
I think he got the same position as Steve Bruce, like the 13th position in the Premier League. So why he's special then?
You're not really trying to compare Rafa Benitez and Steve Bruce. My God. Sorry.
Okay.
Rafa Benitez is a tactician. He wanted better. He had a plan. He wanted to improve the training ground. It's not even joking. It is a joke, but we have rubbish bins, waste bins, as ice buckets, paddling pools. You know, he wants to improve from top to bottom. He had a plan. He had a vision, and he wanted to be able to carry it out. He just wanted the people above him to succeed. And he took a team that was relegated, But in the Championship, now bear in mind we sold 2 players who played in the Champions League final last season in Musa Sissoko and Gini Wijnaldum. We sold them and we got rid of Mitrovic for a decent price. He took that team, made a few additions, less price additions, but we won the Championship. We come back up. When we were expecting a bit of investment, so it didn't happen again, there was very little investment put into the team. Rafa stabilised us, and then when he was allowed to stabilise us again the following season, we had a horrendous start. We got better, the injury list changed. Once we got stabilised, we then signed Almiron, and Newcastle started playing good football again. You know, there was the demolition of Fulham at the end of the last game of that season, but they started playing more attacking. It was about getting the results, and we didn't think that was it. With Benitez, he gave us hope, he gave us aspirations of being better, and we wanted him to make us better. He wanted to make us better. Whereas with Steve Bruce, I believe he's just happy to have the job, and I'm sure he wants to win games. And that's the man there. I'm sure he wants to win games. And you've got to say in his defence, you know, he's took the job. Not many people wanted it, but he's took it. He's applied himself to the best of his ability, and he's got us in a position higher than I thought he would get. So for that, he's commended. The tactical nous, less said about that, the better. The belief that he can take us forward or attract big name players, and it's not there. We're treading water. We're treading water, but we've only got a thimble when we need a bucket to get this, to empty the water off the boat. And that's the situation we're in at the moment. That's Mr. Mitchell. Looking cool. Not as stressed as he's looking at the moment with all the hassle of the takeover. Yeah, that's Neil Mitchell, yeah. Dr. Neil, sorry. That's Nobby. We mentioned him before. Nobby Solano. I've met Nobby a few times. I did have his phone number, but I lost it when I changed phones from Dubai. I took my son out to Nobby's house to get them shirts signed, etc. But there was a story I was telling Alwaleed during the week that I went on holiday and we met. I was in a group of people and we met with Nobby in Toronto. He was running a football team there called Muppets FC. Muppets FC, and we went to the race course, Woodbine, and I was told, one of your heroes is coming to watch with us, and Nobby Solano turned up. Well, as I said, I was living in the Canary Islands, so I could speak some Spanish. So once he realised I could do that, all day he would sit next to me, he would constantly bang your leg. Every race, there was 10 races on the card, and he had a bet on number 4, because that was his main number for Newcastle, number 4. He bet every race number 4 and never won once. Never won once. But a really, really nice guy. And I tell you, with Nobby, he gives time to people. I've seen him in around the corner from where he lives in. I won't give his address away, but there's a bar there that is local to him. When he goes in there, he's not one of these, I'm an ex-Premiership footballer, or I'm an international player or coach or whatever. He likes to be one of the guys, and he gives everyone time. He'll sit and talk, and he'll sign things if people want things signed. He enjoys it. He really does enjoy it. And I did see him in the bookmakers as well when he surprised me, and he was still backing number 4. So hopefully one day he'll be winner for him. Lovely man, Nobby Solano. Hey, that's JC, John Carver, the man that, I mentioned earlier in the show that was getting tickets for the Players' Lounge. I've known John for over 20 years now. And I used to go on holiday every year at the end of the football season. We'd have a large trip. I was the youngest one, so I got tagged on at the end. I had to wait till I think I was nearly 40 before I was allowed to go on them because we're older. But most of them were stateside. So we went to Toronto, which is Canada, not stateside, but we went to Toronto. We've been to Boston, Chicago, Vegas a couple of times, Spain for another good friend of ours who got married. We went to Spain together, and every year John would come out to Tenerife to see me after when the season finished. I have a week's or 2 weeks holiday, and one year he brought the game I was talking about with the bottle of champagne. He brought the match ball. He had it signed by all the players, and he gave it to my son as a gift. And I was really envious because I wanted it. So I had it up in the house, but then I left, as I mentioned, I left the ball in his mother's capable hands, the ex-wife, and I don't know what happened to it. And my son started supporting another team because Newcastle weren't good, and that's how children do. So yeah, John's fantastic. He bleeds black and white. He's so passionate about Newcastle, and I think every single boy growing up in Newcastle and girl, but wants to play for Newcastle United. And John was on the books at Newcastle, and he had, if you can't play for them, the next best thing is to manage them. And for a long time, John's been associated, or JC's been associated with the club. He was caretaker manager for one game. They won 3-0. I think it was against Blackburn, and that gave him the best record of any Newcastle United manager in history, because he was 100% record. He then got the opportunity once Alan Pardew was told he wasn't getting any more money, and took a job at Crystal Palace. He got the caretaker's job under difficult circumstances, which I won't go into, but behind the scenes, his hands were really tied. He sold people to make a profit in that transfer window. There was other things that went on, but John's belief in himself and his love for the club, even to this day, is undiminished. And if anyone is fortunate enough to spend time in his company, you walk away buzzing. Of how much he loves Newcastle. And he's very, like I say, he's been in a very fortunate position where he's managed the club. So, yep, that was John. What's the next one? I'm wondering who's going to come on next now. Wow.
Speaking of history.
Is that the very first Newcastle United manager?
Exactly.
No. It is?
Yeah.
If that's the very first one, that'll be Frank.
Yeah,
Watts.
his name is Frank.
Frank Watts. Frank Watts.
Frank Watts. And actually, I read a little about him. It's interesting. He's a former referee. He born, I think, he born in your same city, Edinburgh.
Yeah,
he born in Edinburgh. Yeah, he born in Edinburgh. He was the secretary of the club, and also a member of committee that owned the club. He have many jobs, multiple jobs there. One of them, the word coach. There is no coach back then. He's a secretary, or part of the owner committee.
Yeah, those committees that pick the team.
He spent from 1895 until 1930, 35 years in this position.
Wow.
So I find it.
I knew the first manager was Frank Watt, but I haven't researched him as well as you. So fair play to you on that.
So you approve that you are true Geordie.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right. We have one. No, sorry, this is the wrong one. This is the original.
Very good, very good.
No comment.
No comment. No, I think they've actually admitted that that's Arthur Cox. That picture there was Arthur Cox.
Yeah.
He was the first manager when I started supporting Newcastle. He was the very first manager. And again, he had a tough but fair reputation. But he's what to me was like what a football manager was. He took no nonsense, and he tried to get the best out of the team. And you could tell that the players had respect for him, because Kevin Keegan, when he come back as manager, had Arthur Cox as part of his backroom staff. So he was my first manager. Not my first manager, but the manager of Newcastle when I first went to the games was Arthur Cox. I know I don't look old enough. I'm not allowed to swear on this show.
Let's all boo him. Boo!
He's worth doing. I can't see the dollars sticking out his back pocket. So that was Richard Masters, the man who can't make a decision. There's an old saying, he used to be indecisive. He used to be indecisive, but he's not so sure now. The man wanted to make a decision. Chris Hughton, again, another true gentleman. You know, we've been blessed to have some really good managers just with poor people above them. And Chris Hughton, again, all the players respected Chris Hughton. He did a fantastic job with us and then was treated badly at the end.
All right, last picture.
Alan Pardew, yeah. I think in the Mike Ashley era, Alan Pardew was the one manager that's had the most success. And I know he's got a divided opinion amongst the fan base. Me personally, I loved watching the team when, I might be biased because I've mentioned my friendship with John Carver, but the team that had Ben Arthur, Tiote, Kibaye, Cisse, Demba Ba, even just for that last half season, it was, well, the word scintillating is probably overexpanded too much, but from what we're used to, it was out of this world. You know, it was brilliant watching it. You know, the way the team played together, the way they fought for each other. So Alan Pardew left because he had more ambition than the people above him, and people were glad that he left. But in hindsight, if we look at what followed him, maybe it was a wrong decision to let him leave. But you can't blame someone if they've been offered more money at another job and they promised to have the opportunity to do better, which unfortunately he didn't. But if we could all predict the future, we wouldn't be sitting here, would we? Any more pictures?
You get A+. You finish the whole answer in less than 17 minutes.
Thank you.
But I think you forget a picture. I think you
17 minutes.
I think you forget a picture, Waleed.
Which one?
Stuart, what do you think of Sir Alex Ferguson?
Sir Alex Ferguson, well, he's Scottish. He was the most dominant manager. I don't think anyone could really say anything bad about him.
Yeah.
Don't like his teams because he was.
I remember he was in Riyadh in 2008 with Manchester United. He came to play with Al Hilal for friendly match.
Yeah, I met him that day. I met him and they take a photograph.
Yeah. My father looks a bit like Sir Alex Ferguson as well, and he's also called Alex. So you have to be careful when I see him.
You have to show us his picture as well.
Yeah, I will do. I'll find a picture next time and I'll send it to you.
Yeah, next time.
Yeah, so Alex Ferguson, well, his record is incredible. I think a lot of the people who don't like him is out of envy and jealousy. And that's the position I want PIF to get Newcastle in, where people hate us because we're successful. And I don't want to be the most popular person in the group. I want to be the most successful person in the group. And I know from personal experience that the Saudi people, when they do business, they are proactive, they are professional, and they want to win. They want to get the best deal, and they want to be successful. It's important to be seen as being successful. And I just hope that their determination not to back down, that something is happening. And we will be having many, many more of these podcasts talking about, were you at Wembley when we won that cup that year? Were you at Wembley when we won that year? You know, and it's the hopes that and the dreams that probably should get us all sectioned. But that's what football is. You know, it's illogical. You know, I've always said when I've been doing training groups for work, there's only two things that can't be replaced by robots, two jobs, or by computers, and that's sales and sport, because it's emotion. You know, like people buy of people. You wouldn't buy of someone you don't like. You're more inclined to buy of someone that you do like. And sport's emotional. That's why it's in the heart, and that's why it makes you do irrational things. You know, you mentioned Mitch. I've seen Mitch is a really highly qualified, respectable dentist. But if some of his patients seen or heard how he acts when we're watching Newcastle games together, as we did for 5 years, they wouldn't think it was the same person. But that's what football does to you. That's what sport does to you. And we haven't had many highs. We haven't had that many. Well, me and Mitch have as friends, but supporting Newcastle, there's been a lot more downs than ups. And this takeover, this proposed takeover, it's something that we haven't clung onto it because we're desperate. We clung onto it because we want it and we believe in it. And what I'm sick of hearing is of uneducated people from other clubs or supporters of other clubs, you know, and they'll talk about Saudi Arabia, they'll talk about the history, you know, because the UK in the last 2 or 3 months, there's been movements there where they've been pulling statues down, etc. You know, they're not Snow White. And I know we touched on it earlier with the vision of 2030. There is so much strides. Even in the time I've been in the GCC, when I first went to Riyadh to the second time I went to Riyadh, I mean, so much has changed. So much has changed for the better. You know, and you can't keep holding people accountable for things that have happened prior to what's happening now. You know, Prince Mohammed bin Salman is driving this vision of 2030. And he should be commended, lauded for it. And he is from many sections. And he will continue. He will continue. And I'm proud to say I know people from Saudi Arabia because they don't dwell on the past. They want to create a better future for themselves. And more countries should look at how Saudi Arabia are operating. And like I said, instead of being reactive, be proactive. Make the world a better place. Make it better for yourself, make it better for the people around you. And please make it by Newcastle United. That's what we want from the public.
Yeah, well said, Stuart. Okay, Waleed, what's the latest news?
We have only one it's breaking from Independent today. We'll talk a little bit about it. They're saying confidence grows over compromise. That could see the takeover back again to happen. What do you think, Stuart? This is from Independent today.
It just goes round in circles. The Independents have had there's a few, the Independent, the Daily Telegraph, the Daily Mail, they'll come out with, it's clickbait for stories. That's how they get the salaries, that's how they get the jobs. I could nigh on guarantee in the next 7 days, the same publication will print something anti the takeover, how it's not going to happen. You know, they're just swapping sides and then they can have the scoop. Let's just say, and I have no crystal ball here, but let's just say if the takeover was to happen in the next 2 weeks. If you're a sports journalist and you've said it's not going to happen, and you've also said it is going to happen, you can claim that you were right, whatever the outcome is. But there is some people that I admire for sticking to their guns, whether it be for the takeover or against it. But there's that many people swapping sides, journalists I'm talking about, who are swapping sides and really, really just being, I'm trying to word this correctly, but they're not doing the job properly. The Newcastle fans have done research on people that have been involved far better. And these people, it's not their job to do the research. The fans of the club, they want the best for the club. These people want the best clicks, they want the most clicks, they want the most likes or the dislikes, they just want the attention. And they run off the old adage or proverb of any news is good news. Whether it's good or bad, it's news, it's good for them. And they don't care who they trample on. You know, and if they actually got off their backsides and got out of their self-isolated bubbles where they think they're better than everyone else, climb down from their ivory tower and actually do some good old-fashioned journalism and do the job properly, they would actually, the majority of them would change their stance on what's happening. You guys, the viewers watching, the people who live in Saudi Arabia, you know, these people who've never been there are painting a story that's so not true. And it must be frustrating for you. You know, it's frustrating for me, so it must be really frustrating for you too. then they start making stories up, new links with this club. That there's only one bid that the fans want. There's only one bid that's realistically going to make this whole situation go away, and that's the PIF with the Rubens, PCP, take it over Newcastle United. Let the other people then say, I told you it was going to happen, and let the people write letters and let them do what they want. We don't care. We want Newcastle United to be better. And we, together, we will grow stronger. We will grow strength from each other, and we will make this relationship the most successful in Newcastle United's history. And it's going to be one amazing ride. And it's going to go one way. It's going to go up. And we'll go together.
Yeah. We
don't want to. I put something on Twitter earlier in the week. I don't expect us to win everything. I just think now, at the age of 46, I would like to see Newcastle United win one trophy of worth in my lifetime. That's not too much to ask for. You know, in my lifetime, I've seen teams like Luton, Oxford,
hopefully very soon.
Birmingham City. I've seen these teams win. Why can't we win it? But we're deluded because we have 50,000 fans that turn up every home game. It's just a joke. Sorry.
Yeah, hopefully, inshallah, and the glory of Newcastle will back again. What make me believe this independent breaking? Because I just keep hearing there is a lot of things going behind the walls. What do you think, Usam? They try. That's why I believe this, because they are just we keep hearing some talks behind scenes stuff.
I'm not sure. It's as he mentioned, like they don't want to approve it and they don't want to reject it. It's weird. It's weird case for me.
I'm afraid they are saying no without saying no. What do you think?
What we want is clarification. As I mentioned, I mean, I've got to be careful what I say, but there is, to me, it's been quite clear. There's been collusion, there's been corruption, there's been bribery. What needs to be done is, okay, let's force the issue. But what I would love to have is the PIF wrote a letter or released a statement saying that they withdrew their bid. Now, I believe that was simply because it was stalemate. There was nothing going on. We've talked about how Saudi Arabian successful business people do business. You know, they want to succeed. Now, if you're going to sit and waste their time, these people have other roles to play. They've got other companies that can go and invest in, not football companies, other companies the PIF are investing in. And they don't need to be going cap in hand to the Premier League, who are getting whispered in their ear, say this to them, this will annoy them. Say this to them, this will annoy them. They have their own owners and directors test, and they cannot fail them on it. And you can't change a test halfway through a test. They cannot fail them on it. So my personal opinion is that we're getting advice from, let's just say, another Gulf state on what to say, how to stall it, how to do it. Now, the same Gulf state, I believe, were in court for TV piracy and everything that Saudi Arabia has been accused of. But that's not Newcastle's issue. Newcastle's issue is we have people who have money, serious money, who want to make our club better, but the city better, the urban regeneration that can happen, the jobs that will create. You know, and I know I've mentioned this before, but the loyalty of the people of Newcastle isn't just, it'll last a lifetime. It would last a lifetime. And you have generations of people all working, you know, in new jobs, whether it be in the construction, whether it be in the retail, you know, whether it be in the service industry, all generated from the money that the PIF, not just the PIF, but the Rubens as well, the money that's been put, that could potentially be put in an area that's been forgotten mostly since the mines were closed down, since they closed the shipyards down, etc. Newcastle is probably one of the most friendliest places in Britain, but it's also one of the most, not Newcastle, but the Northeast is probably one of the most deprived regions. And we've got an opportunity now where the government don't even have to put money into it. It'll be done for them. And we're not asking for much. Like I said, we don't expect to win the league every year and win the Inter-Galaxy trophy every 6 months or whatever. We want a team that cares. We want a chairman that cares. We want to be able to compete and let us stand on our own 2 feet. Instead of someone pushing us down all the time, telling us we're not good enough, we know we're good enough. And the worst thing is, or the best thing is, they know we're good enough. And they know we're better. And they know we're coming, because this takeover will happen. I'm sure of it, it'll happen. Yeah. And if not, I'll get lots of abuse for saying it's going to happen, and it doesn't. So,
no, inshallah it will happen.
Me too.
Right.
I'm
So
sure
now,
it'll happen as well.
all right, now let's go to the last part of our show, the question and comment of fans. First one,
Okay.
we'll go. There is a lot of question here for you, Stewart.
If it's in Arabic, I won't be able to read it, though.
We will translate it for you, don't worry. Hello from Jordy Land.
Danielle was the first guest on Steve Ray's show. She was the first live guest.
This is a comment. Hi lads. Thank you, Golazo. You always on Twitter talking with me. هذا لك يا أسامة.
That's nice of you.
No, this is for Osama. What is Elia Osama?
Very complimentary.
Osama.
David Wheeler, Takeover. I think we cover all that.
Well, it's a long question.
Starting negotiation again. Do you think the takeover will happen, Stewart?
Yeah, I do. I really do. We've mentioned it before.
Oh.
Positive things happen to positive people. Negative things happen to negative people. And I genuinely believe the takeover will happen. No, I don't know, but I genuinely believe it will happen. And the silence is the thing that's at the moment that's pointing that something is going on. And I think it'll be quicker than what people think as well. You know,
so you see the silence as a good thing. You see it as a positive thing. Okay.
Yeah. Do you not? Do you not think that people in Qatar and beIN Sports would be gloating by now if they thought it was all done and dusted? How they managed to beat the big brother and wear the best? That would have been come out ages ago, and it hasn't. You know, so they're very wary. They're very cautious. You know, and the silence, the dignified silence held by the PAF tells me, if out of respect, if it was totally finished, they would release another statement saying we did try, but unfortunately it's now not what we want again. They would reiterate what they said initially, and they haven't done that. And the fact that Amanda Staveley asked for fans to help, the fans, as you touched on there, shown what a Newcastle United can do in just over a week. Well over 100,000 signatures. You know, that shows you that people care. That shows you that their determination.
It showed that it's the right club to invest, as Waleed mentioned.
Yeah, and the three buying parties haven't been able to see anything since, which tells me that there is some sort of collaboration going on and they're trying to get something done. That's just my opinion.
There is just a comment, but he said, to sum up, he's saying it's look like not just it's like matter of buying a city, not just a club. He thinks it shouldn't be this long.
No, it shouldn't. But that's what's happened, you know. And if life wouldn't it be so wonderful if life went the way everyone wanted it? And when this takeover does happen, it'll make it more worthwhile. And we'll be smoked for a little bit, but then we get on to the serious business, rolling up the sleeves and making it a success. Because for sure, I think with the show that you're doing, and the people in Saudi Arabia are now discovering what Newcastle United is all about. the PIF aren't investing this because they like the colour of the strips. They're not investing it because one of them met Alan Shearer at a function 10 years ago. They're doing it to make money. And the potential in Newcastle United to make money is bigger than any other club, I would say, in the UK. Way bigger. You know, the top six, as they're called, they're at maximum capacity. You know,
we
they're all
even
vying for 4
learned we even learned few Geordie's words.
Which one?
Which one?
What's
Alwaleed?
the Geordie
word? There's a funny word. There is a funny word. Doilem or Doilem.
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 Doilem. Doilem. Doilem.
Doilem.
But this is not a good word.
Doilem,
No, my favorite one.
like
My favorite one is the Hawaii the lads.
Hawaii the lads. Yeah.
Do you think Saudi takeover happens? Do you think Saudi takeover happens in early start of next year season?
Do I think? I think it'll happen this year. I really do. There's no need. I mean, I don't want to sit and pick faults with the process. I think they've all been written and talked about for too long, as was the process. But if there's a way back, if there's a way in, what the Premier League have done is they've shown. We're using the word arbitration, which is strange because they didn't reject it. They couldn't reject it, but they're saying this is what needs to be done. Okay, let's give you that. If that's what you're saying, let's give you it. How do we know that hasn't been done already? How do we know that there hasn't, apart from the hand-delivered letter from the Saudi Royal Court, how do we know there's no proof? Now, I did read something, and as you know, I'm au fait with the area as well. How they can even think that Prince Mohammed bin Salman would be ringing up the manager of Newcastle United and saying, you need to pick this player, you need to pick that player. The wealth of the kingdom. Newcastle's like, not even that, it's microscopic. You know, he has so much more other things, like real world issues to solve. He has a kingdom to improve. He has a vision to ensure that the vision does happen by 2030, not 2031. Oh, we were a bit late. It'll happen in 2030. Everything will be in place for it. That's where his priorities are. Okay, we might see him with a black scarf. I hope we do. I really hope we do. But what I've learned about working in the GCC is the wealthy people are wealthy because they're clever and they're humble and they don't think they know everything. What they do is they get the right people for that job. They get their experts to do that. They don't claim to know everything. You know, I need, I don't know, if I wanted, I'll just use my work for example. If I needed marketing done, I wouldn't think I know everything about marketing. You know, the company would employ the best marketing executive they could find. You know, if you want something, if you want a chef, you would employ the best chef available. You wouldn't say, oh, I can do this because I'm wealthy. And so that's the bit that to me that's caused the insult. You know, a letter's been given. It's like saying we don't believe you, but they do believe. They do believe. So they might have thought the issue had gone away when the PIF released their statement. I think that it was very cleverly released 1 hour before Eid. 1 hour before Eid. There was no way there was going to be any retribution from being sport from Qatar through there, because that would be haram. Through the peaceful period of Eid by saying clothing or saying anything. It gave, and I know in Saudi Arabia you had extended time. So you didn't go back to work till not the Sunday after, the following Sunday. It was like a 9-10 day break for Eid. That gave time for the dust to settle. It gave time for the dust to settle. It gave the PIF time to say, okay, let's see what's been thrown at us now. Which angle should we go now? Because they don't just toss a coin. They're strategists, and they're very successful at what they're doing. And they wouldn't be spending the effort or making the effort to put into Newcastle United just to walk away. These guys are winners, and I genuinely believe they will do what they can to get. I think it's now more of a point of principle rather than just another financial acquisition. which hopefully will only benefit Newcastle United in the long term.
Everybody on the planet believe except Premier League.
Yeah.
Here, Miriam saying Stewart is amazing guest, full of hope and positivity. Thank you.
I try to be. I say it's what's the point in being negative? But we have plenty to be positive about, you know. So
Need this takeover and support. Okay, this is nice question. Do you think, Stewart, Nust, you know, the trust will make a big role in fixing the deal between Premier League and PIF?
no, in one word, I don't think. I think it's admirable what the trust are attempting to achieve, but the trust themselves. I don't want to disrespect the trust because I think there's a lot of good people involved in it and some of them do an amazing job. But what we were talking about, what I was just talking about, yeah, I think they are. And the intentions are fantastic. But what I was talking about before about the successful people, it's great that the trust, if it keeps growing, it becomes one voice for, you know, the Newcastle supporters. But you get the right people for the right job. You know, as I mentioned, and the trusts are like me, the supporters who care deeply about the Newcastle United and they want to be successful. So it's commendable what they've done. Do I think they have the ability to change their process? Unfortunately not. I'd love them to be able to, but unfortunately not. But as long as they keep going and keep going and keep going, you know, they can start to irritate the Premier League, but they're doing it very politely and very nicely. You know, I've seen them receive some criticism for not going in too hard, but you know, they want to go back in and hopefully and have another round of talks and get more questions answered. So you have to be careful how we approach things, and yeah, some of it might be self-serving, but they're running a trust. You know, it's not going to break the bank. To give you an example, to join the trust, I know you have. I believe it's £2, one BD, 10 reals, 10 reals to join the trust. You know, so they're not asking for lots of money. It's to show, look, we're in this together. I understand the figures are 14,000. It's a voice that got further than any journalist has got. They got to speak to Richard Masters. Again, commendable. Were the questions light? Were they set up to give answer to have answers that really didn't give answers? Yes, they were. But they got the questions asked, and for that, I'm full of praise for them. Do I think they'll change it? No. Do I think the NUST will change? I don't think Richard Masters walked away from that and got on the phone to Gary Hoffman and said, right, we better get this takeover approved because these guys have asked us some questions. I'll give them stock answers. If they keep asking, now they've been polite, now they can start being annoying, now they can start irritating them. Now they've got their foot in the door, make sure that door keeps getting pushed. Then they've got a chance.
At least we know now everything, and at least after this pressure we made, I believe that we know now what at least there was before. We didn't know exactly what's going on, but now we know almost everything regarding why this is taking time, regardless how
I don't think we do.
No.
So with the greatest respect, Alwaleed, I don't think we do know everything. What do we really know? That they hadn't approved it, but they hadn't rejected it. That's it. What I want to know is how certain members of the press or media are able to tell word for word, word for word, what was going to get released. But they haven't spoken to any media. No one else was involved. How people are saying that he's my best friend, we're great friends, we're a great guy, but he needs to sort this out. This man, I believe, I'll talk. I think Gary Hoffman was brought in specifically to not destroy it, but to delay this takeover. He's handpicked because for sure the top six don't want Newcastle United being successful. It threatens their place to we go higher up the league. They obviously, gravity says someone has to go lower. They don't want that. But we all know that Qatar bailed out Barclays a few years back. He was involved in that. I won't go into the legal reasons, but he was involved in that. He has gratitude towards Qatar. He's been brought in, and he was friends with Gorilla Gloves, Richard Keys.
We all know that. Yes.
Very boisterous about how this takeover was going to happen and how, you know, I don't want to. He's a despicable man, to be fair. The way he talks about things from his moral high horse, and I think if you read into him, you know the man's not a good person. And so to say these things that even today, he mentioned something about Rafa Benitez because his team after 6 games are bottom of the league in China. Hey, move on. You know, he comes out with so many quotes. It's not just against Newcastle. He's been having a go at Manchester City as well. And it's quite clear he has an agenda. It's quite clear he's been told what to say. Sorry, I'll stop. You go back to the next one.
No, take your time. Actually, we all believe what you said, and it's true. But I mean, at least we know, or we know at least something. What was the disagreement for? Regardless, is it reasonable or not? But at least we know the disagreement.
If it's true, but then we're getting told that the PAF want written assurances. If it's true, then give them written assurance.
Stuart, can you please show us the prove the it's a juice. It's a juice. عصير تفاح يقول. Not apple juice. See,
non-alcoholic.
Apple, and then water.
Believe me,
I'll drink water. Does someone think it's not juice?
Thank you, Real Madrid. What we're talking about?
I have no idea.
Okay. Speaking of Real Madrid, who? Quick question. What do you think? Who will gonna win Sunday? Sunday final Europe Champions League.
Bayern Munich all day long.
We hope so.
Yes, we do.
محمد طبعا قاعد يغني يقول لك الصبر طال. طيب. I think Majid, I don't know why. I think this is Google translated. I think he's talking about Alan Shearer.
Yes, he's talking about Alan Shearer, yeah.
260 goal.
And that's for a team that wasn't winning the league every season as well. And he had some serious injuries.
Shearer.
That's Katie. I say that's Katie.
Mohammed bin Keegan. Penman is hilarious.
In a nice way, I hope.
Comment in the Vex is hilarious. Takeover, us, we cover a takeover.
Shukran.
No, there's a lot of here. You just speak every one of here us. Okay, proud of Stuart used to speak for every one of us here in Newcastle. Well done. Saudi and Newcastle. This will get done, hopefully, inshallah. Yep. Absolutely spot on, but Rafa was and special.
Yeah, agree with that.
This is for me, the Newcastle shirt. Of course, we all, inshallah, we be together, 3 of us in St. James Park on final of the game.
Will you take your private jet, Alwaleed?
hopefully we'll be in some final, or to give the cup for Stewart.
Yeah, that would be nice.
John Carver, oh dear, but
Fair
his
point.
heart in the right place. Hello, Stewart. I'm from Bahrain and a fan of Newcastle Club. When you expect the takeover, just a guess. You have guess? You can guess.
Oh. Well, last time I put something on Twitter. I have a client I've known for a long time from Saudi. He was an advisor for one of the board of directors of Aramco when I first met him. Mm-hmm. He's now an advisor for a senior advisor for a minister, and I won't say which department of the government because everyone knows who it is. Mm-hmm. And he called me. He actually didn't even send me a message. He called me and says, "We are buying your football team tomorrow." And I says, "How?" He says, "Well, we're all talking about it." So me being naive and believing, well, I did believe him. He had no reason to ring me and tell me that. You know, he wasn't getting paid to do it. And in my naivety, I took it as face value. I didn't doubt it. I was excited. So I shared it on Twitter and I was lambasted for it because the takeover didn't happen. Now, as it happens, there was a lot of rumours after that tweet went out. I got a lot of support from people who said they'd heard the same thing. People in the region, like people like Mitch, etc. They had been hearing things as well. And there was a newspaper that had been told to have everything ready to be printed, that the takeover had happened, and they were just waiting for the phone call to press the button. That was the exact word, press the button on printing the story. So it was an exciting night, and then no one was more disappointed than I was. Okay, I'm wrong. I put my hands up. I said sorry. Some people took it a bit far. You know, there was members of my family got threatened. Very brave little boys threatening people with false names. And I will be back in Newcastle at some stage. I'd like to meet with them and ask why they feel the need to express hatred. You know, I was wrong. I'm sure everyone's been wrong in their life, but the intention was genuine. The intention was real. So if you're asking me for a date and when it will happen, I won't be specific. But as an optimist, I'd like to think it's going to happen soon. I'd like to think it's happened soon. Where are we now? I don't think it'll be as quick as before the season starts, as much as I'd like it to be. But there was a comment that came on earlier on saying by the end of the season, next season, you know, early next year, I would expect it to happen in 2020. If it is going to happen at all, I think it'll happen in 2020. If there's only one thing that's stopping it, why can't we resolve it quickly? They had 17 weeks. It's been, 19, 20 weeks now, but they had 17 weeks to try and cancel it, try and void this takeover, and they couldn't. So
yeah,
through their own,
it doesn't make any sense that it's going to happen next year.
No. So through their own statements, this is the only thing that's stopping you. Okay, well, what proof do you want? Do you know? Do you need Boris Johnson to tell you? Do you need the Queen to tell you? You know? Do you want Prince Mohammed to fly over and tell you what more do you want? If you look at the size of
maybe they want us to swear.
Look at the size of the PIF investments.
To swear on the holy book.
So small in it. Yeah, cross my heart. Get a note from your mother or something. I don't know what they want. There's no reason why it can't happen.
This question, and he said about takeover. I will just talk in Arabic a little bit. جيني أسئلة كثير في الخاص. وش التيك اوفر؟ وش صار تيك اوفر؟ طيب يعني انا ودي يعني شوفوا الحلقات، شوفوا البثوث، شوفوا لقطات مقاطع منها في اليوتيوب وتعرفون. Okay, this is interesting. I have a comment also, and we'll ask it back to you guys. When do you think the PIF will come back to the table or say something? From my perspective, I think PIF did everything possible. Maybe there is now talking behind the scene as we hear, but they did everything possible, and just the Premier League, I believe they have common interests. I call it Premier League consortium. Consortium, you can add, what does the consortium include? They want to prevent this or pushing this away for some hidden reasons. As the steward mentioned today, they have a lot of things. They doesn't seem like to be in court. I mean, the PL for they don't want them to expose some fishy things being going for a while. So
do you know what?
for this one,
Sorry, I just want to throw this in. It's never been said. It just came to my head there that, yeah, I think we all know if it got rejected, then the PIF would have to take them to court. It's their reputation. But perhaps
Mike Ashley,
Mike Ashley, he's the one that has to take them to court. But if you reject it on grounds, Mike Ashley's the only one that can take them to court now because it hasn't been rejected. He's the member of the Premier League. But if they rejected it, then the PIF could take them to court. But perhaps the delaying tactics is a favour to the supposed cartel, where, okay, we'll get you through this transfer window because with the effects of COVID-19, there's not much money going to be spent. I don't, in comparison to previous transfer windows, where it is a cash-rich Newcastle United could come in very quickly, make massive strides. Instead of baby steps and building up gradually, they could have made massive strides. And that would threaten the league positions, especially of the Tottenhams and the Arsenals in the top six. Because, the top four for next season looks nailed on with the two Manchesters, Chelsea and Liverpool at the moment, the way the land lies. So the Tottenhams and Arsenals, when I believe Tottenham were one of the teams that were vociferous and against the takeover alongside Liverpool. But perhaps they've delayed it long enough so we can't have an impact on this window. And then in January, it's always difficult to buy new players. To get a good player to improve the squad.
We saw
12 months before we can actually see the positive impact that the PIF would have on Newcastle United. So that's something there. I think it's the 5th of October the transfer window closes.
We saw all
just a thought.
Yeah, we saw all Tottenham how were they thrilled when they just qualified to UEFA Europe League.
Yeah, that's it. But they've overspent. The one thing we can be thankful for to Mike Ashley, and probably is the only thing we can be thankful for, is the way he's financially had the club managed. There isn't any debts there. Tottenham are in so much debt. It took Arsenal years to pay off their stadium. Tottenham need to be in Europe every year. So they could financially struggle if Newcastle didn't get there. I read something there made me smile. Someone was defending Liverpool fan. And you've got to admire what they've done, the way they won the league this year. You don't have to like them, but you can admire what they've done, the way they won by so many points. But they said that they've done it the right way. And then someone replied, says, but you bought at the time the most expensive goalkeeper in the world, the most expensive defender in the world. But no one begrudges them that. But they would begrudge Newcastle that. As soon as we get the opportunity and we buy the best, highest defender, and let them begrudge us. We'll be dignified.
Yeah, they don't want that
we'll be winning.
to happen.
Yeah, they don't. So that's just my thought. It's quite possible that they're going to delay it so we can't have a positive impact on this window. They say January's nothing, so it'll be 12 months before the real Newcastle United come at them.
We hope to see you here in PSA, Stuart.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I will be there very soon with work, and we'll be in Riyadh, definitely. And I want to take you to that Italian restaurant and eat pizzas I was telling you about. It's really, really nice.
Yeah, you promised me we'll go there.
Yeah, for sure. Amazing pizzas. They were really nice. So yeah, I want to be in Saudi. I will be in Saudi very, very soon when the Causeway reopens. be there 4 times by the end of this year.
Do you think Newcastle could realistically become the most desirable city in UK with proper investment? Of course.
It already is. Already is the most desirable city. And I say that not even tongue in cheek. If you look at the amount of people who go to university in the region, they stay. You know, and this is where like I said, I've lived out of Newcastle now for just over 20 years. And the amount of people I speak to, oh, my daughter went to university in Newcastle. Oh, did she enjoy it? Oh, yeah, she's married to someone now and she's got 2 children and she's living there. You know, or my son went there. It was the best time. He wants to go back. You know, and everybody who goes to Newcastle, you don't get, you know, the analogy I used before about Dubai being like London and Bahrain being like Newcastle. There's a saying in the UK, I'm sure you've heard it, is, I wouldn't give you the time of day. Now, that would happen if you're walking down a street in London, Oxford Street, for example, and you stop somebody dressed as you are, you know, you got your throb on, your mug, and said, excuse me, have you got the time, please? They would look at you and put their head down and walk straight past. In fact, they might not even acknowledge you. They might not even look at you. But in Newcastle, you wouldn't get the time. You would get a conversation. You know, it's none of the, oh, you're different. Wow, where are you from? You know, why are you in Newcastle? How long have you been here?
This
You
is
get
how
a
it goes
conversation, you probably get,
with the big cities.
yeah. But that's the difference. And that's like in Bahrain, Dubai. Dubai's got all the, you know, it has to be biggest, best, first, fastest, whatever. And it does it really well. But for lifestyle,
better social life than Bahrain.
Well, I don't know. It's been lockdown. We've been in lockdown since, well, not lockdown, but most places have been shut since February or something. So, no, it depends what you're looking for, in all honesty. But I do prefer Bahrain. But Newcastle, it's a beautiful city, and I'm not going to work for the Newcastle Tourist Board or the Northumberland Tourist Board, but there's a stretch, as I mentioned earlier, I was born in Edinburgh. There's a road that takes you up from Newcastle to Edinburgh, and it gives you some of the most beautiful views you'll ever want to see. You know, with the hills, even when it's raining, it's stunning. You know, and you can't do that. 10 minutes outside of Newcastle, 15 minutes outside of Newcastle. You know, it's that good. Harry Potter was filmed there. You know, there's so much that can. I'm getting homesick now. Yeah, I need to get back to Newcastle. But it's an amazing place. It really is desirable. And I don't think that was the intention of the question, but it is such a desirable place. And once you guys get the opportunity to go there, it won't be your last time. That I assure you. There's so much to discover, and you'll be welcomed, genuinely welcomed, like long lost members of the family, as will everyone else from the kingdom who visits. You know, you'll be instant friends.
Stuart, we apologize from you that we take a little longer than what we agreed about the time. In the end, do you have any message or something to say to Newcastle fans or your friends in Newcastle or in Bahrain?
There's nothing to say. I think I've said everything I need to say. I've overspoke. But the one thing I want to say is be proud of who we are. And we are Newcastle United. We will never be defeated. And that's not means that we'll lose a game. It's believe in ourselves, believe in our strength. And what this takeover has proven to me, although it has been divisive, there has been spats, but that's born out of frustration. But that petition showed me that when we get together, we are an unstoppable force. We've done our bit now. The rest is over to the powers that be. We've shown we want them. They've told us they want us. Right? We've got the will. They've got the means. Let's make it happen as quickly as possible. That's all I need to say, I think.
At the end, really, it was enjoyable.
No, thank you for that.
It's a pleasure that we are with us tonight. We really would like to see you later again on the show, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Just for people watching in the UK, let them realise it is 1:40 in the morning here. And in the winter it'll be 2:40 here. So that's a Friday night. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm really, really grateful and honoured that you're both privileged that you asked me to come on. And hopefully I with the answers.
Thank you. Thank you for watching. See you next week with Newcastle with وليد. شكرا وليد، شكرا ستيوارت. يتجدد ان شاء الله لقاءنا ان شاء الله الاسبوع المقبل مع برنامج نيوكاسل مع وليد. شكرا لكم.
مع السلامة.
وحبنا لك بحرين الوفا كل لحظة يزداد حلم واحد يقربنا لبعضنا ما يباعدنا نشوف أرضك مثل جنة تلحف السما بمجاد على أرضك تعايشنا وتعاوننا وتوحدنا وحبنا لك يا بحرين الوفا كل لحظة يزداد حلم واحد يقربنا لبعضنا ما يبعدنا نشوف أرضك مثل جنة تلحف السما بمجاد تعايشنا وتعاوننا وتوحدنا I'm coming home Newcastle
Cisse! Oh, that is sensational!